What are some of the artists you've worked with that people might recognize?
Adele, DJ Khalid, Chris Brown.
What do you think is the reason why we haven't seen a Drake from Saudi or a Drake from Qatar?
Regardless of if you want to acknowledge it or not, it is
Nuit sans fin.
We cozy?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't moved at all, so I'm pretty cozy.
All right, we're here in Dubai. Beautiful sunset.
Yeah.
I'm here with Naz Cakes.
Hello.
But she works at Sony Middle East, the record label, handles a lot of high-profile artists. You want to talk a little bit about what you do?
So I'm an account manager.
Yeah.
And what I do is I pitch the songs, the artists, the music to the streaming platforms and various other platforms, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube.
What are some of the artists you've worked with that people might recognize?
Adele, DJ Khalid,
Amazing.
Chris Brown, Tate McRae, Hamaki, if you're an Arab and watching.
All right. So you're the real deal. You've really...
The biggest deal.
You have, and Naz has a lot of important friends too. So talking about big artists, big mafia bosses. So
The mafia.
Yeah, the mafia. So, I mean, given all these people you worked with, you probably have a good perspective on what you would say makes a good recipe for success in music.
Yes.
And what doesn't.
Yeah, depending though on what you want as an artist.
Yeah.
But as the industry, yes.
We were just having a discussion off camera about TikTok.
Yeah.
And about where things are going. So, I mean, you've been in the industry more than just your few years at Sony. You were also working in radio before that. So you've seen the music industry evolve probably over the course of like half a decade or more. And in recent years, it's been very, very much TikTok focused. What are your thoughts on where it is now and where it's going?
With TikTok?
Yeah.
I think TikTok is unfortunately the future of music.
Okay.
I mean, fortunately and unfortunately. I think it's great for artists. I think that if you want your song to really get out there, it's a great platform for people to hear your music and for it to be known. And I do think that TikTok also has invited, like, I think that there used to be a specific type of pop music that you heard on the radios and things where it was very specific. Whereas I feel like with the TikTok, it's all over the place, which is great, which means a wider variety of genres of music and now being mainstream or popular and on the radio. So that's a plus of it. But I do think with TikTok, it takes away the value of music. I think that it's very short, it's very trendy, it's a bit meaningless, and people don't really care for the whole song anymore. It's just the catchy parts or the viral parts or the things that they're hearing, and that's why they like the music. I think it takes away from the essence of what music really is, and it's a shame.
I mean, from this point of view, I mean, you've been in Australia, you've been here in Dubai, and you've also obviously worked with artists from the US. What are your thoughts on the music industry outside the US? And what about Dubai? There's arguments to be made that maybe the talent isn't there, and there's other arguments to be made that the infrastructure isn't there. As in, like, even if somebody was incredibly talented, there's things standing in their way of realizing their full potential here. So what's your take on that? What do you think is the reason why we haven't seen a Drake from Saudi or a Drake from Qatar or whatever?
I think a lot of people are unaware of what they want to be.
Interesting.
As an artist, a lot of people follow trends and they do things that they're just following a crowd or what they think people want, which it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I think it takes away from who they really are. And if you're not doing things that is very much true to you, then it's a bit harder to be very successful. Your focus should be overall, maybe not just Dubai.
So you would say, just to clarify that point, you would say that artists from here maybe have a tendency to focus too much on building an audience here,
yes,
and not building a more global audience.
Yeah, like I don't know, but just an overall observation on artists in Dubai.
That's a good point. I mean, even from my own perspective as an artist, I noticed early on that you can't decide where you want your fans to be. They decide where, you know, they get to choose you. You don't choose them. So I can't say like, oh, I want 5,000 in Lebanon and 10,000 in Dubai. It ended up being wherever it was. Like the people who liked me were where they were, and then we followed them, not the other way around.
Yeah. I also think, to add on it, Dubai is not like the rest of the world. Like it's what's in Dubai is not relatable outside. So people might not understand it because they're not in Dubai. So looking on the outside in, it's like, what is this? Whereas if you're in Dubai, like you might relate to it more, you understand it a bit more. So I think there's that as well.
Where do you think it's going next? Do you think TikTok's the end, or what's happening next?
I don't know what's after TikTok.
Yeah.
I was actually thinking about this the other day. Like what would be after TikTok? What else is there? I do think TikTok will be there for a while. Although I think as with anything, it will lose its value.
You think so?
Yes, people will get over it.
Do you think it's a bubble?
TikTok?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It's not, it's a very much a younger generation. Like it's more for them, even though everyone's on it, everyone's using it. So it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
Although in the music scene, in the music industry, I do think TikTok is very much a huge part. If you're an artist and you're not on TikTok, you're missing out on a lot.
So although it is a Gen Z thing, it's still something that everyone has to do. So it's like everyone
is a huge, I would highly recommend it, because
maybe not have to, but if you want to be competitive, it's kind of a requirement now.
Yeah.
Or at least it would be difficult to be competitive without TikTok.
Yes. But I think it will, and I think it's already becoming very oversaturated, a little bit harder. It's now more mainstream. So it's not something that's a bit exclusive. Like you're on TikTok, your song blew up. It's like a big deal. Everything is blowing up. Like everyone is finding music on there. So it's just normal now. But it's still very relevant. And as a label, we look at TikTok. We look at the charts. We look at the up and coming. We look at everything to do with TikTok a lot. We use, like, all labels are looking at TikTok. So I don't think it's the end. Like, I don't think it's going to be the only thing.
Yeah.
But I do think it will be there for a very long time, and it will progress. I also, just personal opinion, I think it will have its crash. People will get over it.
And what comes after?
I mean, Web3. And I do think it will blow up, and it will become a mainstream and normal thing for everyone, regardless of if you're into it now, if you understand it or don't understand it. It will become a part of all of our lives. So it will be the next thing, whenever it may be.
All right. So moving on from music now and kind of zooming out to other things, let's just talk about life in general. Obviously, you've traveled a lot. You've been in a lot of different places. So you have a lot of life experiences. Also, you've worked with a lot of different artists. So you've seen people from different demographics and backgrounds, and you've worked with them and so forth. From a professional side and also from a personal side, what would you say is the most important lesson you've learned in the last, 3 to 5 years that really characterizes this part of your life that you would say is if you could go back and tell your previous self about it, it would just level you up?
The industry that I work in and meeting people, like different types of people, I've really come to note that not everyone has good intentions, and I need to act accordingly. Even if it doesn't mean that I need to match them, and go down to their level, but I need to be able to set the boundary and work around people who don't have good intentions. Whereas previously, I just used to think that if I was a great person and if I had clean intentions and if I was pure in that way, then that would reflect back to me, which it still does. I'm a very big believer of that, but it's just not the case. Not everyone, no matter how great you are, no matter how nice you are, no matter how good your intentions are and how pure you might be, some people are just not like that. And I don't have to tolerate it. Like I can kind of be firm in that. So that's a huge thing.
Makes sense. How do you deal with it though? What are the steps you take to avoid it affecting you?
It doesn't affect me because I don't take it personal. Like,
that's maybe in your personal life you can avoid that, but let's say you're in the workplace and there's somebody who you have to work with. It could be an artist, or it could be somebody in Sony corporate, or it could be somebody in the radio station you were with in Australia, whatever the case is. Well, you have to deal with them, but they have these nasty tendencies to maybe be manipulative or self-fulfill, just going after their self-interest, or exploitative. How do you deal with people like that?
It really depends. Yeah.
I know it's a tough question.
It is really tough because although I've dealt with it, it's not something that I'm always dealing with. And I do think it's because of me, because of how I put myself out there.
Yeah.
So I will not give anyone the opportunity to be that way with me. It has nothing to do with me.
Right.
Yeah.
You remove yourself from the situation.
Yeah, or I just don't put myself in the situation, even if the situation is happening around me.
That's a really mature way to deal with it, because I know a lot of people when these things happen to them, they just start boiling.
But why? Like, I would ask myself, why? Why is this bothering me? Like, why is it something that's annoying me in general? A lot of the things that we get so triggered by is within ourselves.
Yeah.
So if you can, very rarely is an issue to do with another person.
Right.
Like, they might have done something to you or said something that upset you, which is valid. You can be upset, but why?
Right.
Why did it upset you? Like, what is it that upset you? Is it them? Is it what they said might have triggered something within you? And okay, yes, they said it, but you know, our emotions, they are on us. And if we understand ourselves and our triggers a lot better, then we can deal with things easier.
Okay. Let me ask you an even bigger question than that. So I don't have the exact numbers on hand, but I do know that many of the diseases that I don't, just stay with me. Many of the diseases that the previous century faced, like childbirth, or maybe something that's not a disease, like illiteracy. Like, literacy rates are going up, childbirths are going down. But one thing that is not improving is the rates of depression. And also, I think cancer. I think cancer has actually replaced a lot of other diseases as like a top disease. But let's not get into cancer. Let's just talk about depression.
Okay.
I'm sure there's a link between both of those things too.
There most definitely.
There most definitely
is.
But let's just talk about depression. I think I can't really tell because I wasn't around in my parents' youth or my grandparents' youth. But what it seems like to me is that this generation and the younger generation are significantly less happy than their predecessors or their ancestors. I don't know what the right word is. Let's just say predecessors. Our parents and grandparents seem to live more simple lives. Maybe that's what at least it seems like. I wasn't around at the time. Can't say. But it just seems like people may have life easier now, but somehow are less happy. And there's also something about TikTok that's interesting. I've watched and I've read a lot of documentary material about how TikTok, their brand is happiness. It's about being like, everything has to kind of be happy and good looking and positive. And in a way, there's some good in that, which is to spread positivity, but in a way it's also an inaccurate representation of the general public. I don't think everyone's on that level of high and ecstasy that you might see on a TikTok FYP. So what are your thoughts on why that's the case? And obviously you've probably dealt with depression in your personal life. How did you overcome it? What were the reasons, if you ever figured that out? For example, I never figured out exactly why I was depressed, but I got over it. What do you think the reasons are for these trends we're seeing with this younger generation?
I think the older generation had way less to compare to. Their life was quite simple. And I also think that whilst depression, back in the days, was still very much a huge thing, it wasn't as much of a common thing. Like, people just thought it was life. Like, they just lived through it, and there wasn't a lot of options. There wasn't a lot of things to compare to. So it was kind of 1, 2, 3, you do this in life. That's kind of it. So that's like the older generation. Whereas this generation, there's so much. I think a lot of depression and the feelings of anxiety or just feeling unfulfilled comes from so much access to other people's lives that then we compare to.
Interesting.
Yeah, I do think it's a huge factor. Social
Actually,
media.
I have a study I know about people's level of happiness depending on which neighborhood they lived in. So there's a theory in economics that more is better. So if you have more money, you'll be happier because you can buy more things. Maybe it's not the only source of happiness. There's obviously intrinsic stuff too, but let's just say money is one component. The more you have, maybe the happier you are because it's a good, not a bad. And they did a study where they compared people who lived in rich neighborhoods and people who lived in poor or middle class neighborhoods. And they found that like people or families who made like, let's say 60,000 pounds in a neighborhood where the average income was, let's say 40,000 pounds for their neighbors, were happier than families who made 200,000 pounds in neighborhoods that the average income was 500,000 pounds, and that effect was much stronger than the amount of money they had. It was the relativity of their money to the people around them.
Because they think that they're doing better. So they're not really comparing to people that are below them in that sense.
Yeah, in a sense, it's not about the global baseline. Because I could say, for example, oh, I'm so much better than the average human because I'm fortunate to live in a country that's high income and is very developed, and I'm way above the poverty line. And a large portion of humanity is below the poverty line in a lot of places. But I'm not, humans and myself, we don't compare to everyone. We compare to what's proximate, what we see closest to us, our neighbors, our Instagram feeds. So that kind of goes with your point. Right?
Yeah. I do think though, I mean, there are so many, what's the word I'm looking for? Reasons. There are so many reasons why depression is such a common thing. But I do think that a lot of people don't take the time. We're constantly being distracted and stimulated, and we don't have the time to just understand what are the thoughts that were happening? Like, what is causing the thought that's making me feel this way? What is it? Well, where instead of doing this, we constantly distract. People are always watching something. TikTok, Netflix, whatever it is. They always have people around them. They're never really alone to hear what's going on in their brains. So they're not aware of what's causing it. And I do think though that a lot of it is the unfulfillment. No purpose, or just feeling like they're not good enough. But good enough for what? Like, I think we can decide that, and we can.
And a lot of those people
forward.
who put that image of I'm really popping or I'm living the best life.
I don't think that if you're putting an image of I have the best life that you do. Life is not
They
like that.
often don't.
Life is very calm and simple, regardless of what you have. I think that if you have goals. And whatever you want, you can and you should achieve it because you want it. Why not? But life is not. It's not for show like that. Do as you want.
Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
Since we came here
Okay.
from our original question.
Yeah.
Because I think this is a great question. Let's say you're running a scam where you're telling me on how to. You said, oh, I'm a crypto queen. Mm-hmm. I know my way around crypto like the back of my hand. Mm-hmm. You post these pictures of private jets and these Lambos. And in reality, you just rented the Lambo. And you just took the picture in the private jet. You never flew in it. Okay. But, you pushed your little brand on me and I bought it. And I ended up giving you like 100,000 pounds, mm-hmm. which is my life savings. And then, you ended up getting indicted and, incarcerated. And I never, you get indicted and incarcerated and I never get my money back. And now I'm broke.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm like 45 or 50 years old.
Okay.
And I fell for this and I gave you my life savings and now I'm broke at 50. And I have to figure my way out. Is that your fault or is that my fault?
It's your fault.
Okay.
Because you did it.
Expound on that or elaborate.
I am not saying that what the scammer is doing is right. Of course not.
Of course.
I really would feel bad for anyone in that position, especially people who are older and do not understand. So please do not get me wrong. But in simple terms, yeah, it's your fault because you are the one that gave the money. Like,
right.
This person did not come to your house and take your money and rob you in that sense. It's not your fault.
It was a voluntary transfer.
You did it because but it's not like you're wrong. Like, you did it because you believed this person.
The Bad Vegan?
No.
Oh, have you heard of it?
No.
Okay. It's something to check out.
Okay.
I
mean, I have watched The Tinder Swindler.
Okay, that's another one. Yeah.
I just feel like
the guy doesn't seem like he feels
whatever,
any
man.
remorse.
He knows exactly which women to target and how to manipulate them, and they were being manipulated. And
absolutely,
I do feel bad for them. So, but they did it. Like, there's really, it's very black and white. I don't really believe in if you do something and it affects you, like you can be upset and hurt and disappointed in the outcome, and you can have been played.
Yeah.
But you did it. So
Right.
the only other option is to, like, if you want to get your money back or do this and, you know, take the actions necessary, go for it. Go to the police, try and figure it out, go for it. Yeah. But to sit there and have no accountability in it is like, it's just not the way that it is, because you also had a part in it.
I understand where you're coming from. The reason I'm asking you this question is because it's an open question and it goes so much farther beyond scammers. There's a question, even when it comes to Twitter, like censorship on free speech. There's an argument that, people are spreading fake information. But they should be held.
What is fake information? Like what?
As in, they're saying headlines or facts about events that never occurred or statistics that are wrong.
But we cannot control anyone and anything. Like,
well,
if
let me paint the picture for you, so you understand why this is such an interesting and big concept. There are some people, whether it's with scammers scamming people, or with people spreading fake information on Facebook or Twitter, as they call it fake information. Sometimes it's fake, or sometimes it's just their opinion, but they don't like it and they believe it's fake and it needs to be taken down. And then there's this whole thing about canceling people. There's a group of people who believe that people who spread fake information should be silenced, and people who are scammers are the ones that should be fully accountable. Now, there's another group of people on the other end, and there's a million things in between both of these groups of people. This is not everyone. This is just the extremes. The other group of people says, what you should let people say whatever they want, and it's on the consumer or the reader to be knowledgeable enough to be able to verify what they read.
Why are you reading it? Like, okay, it comes up, and it just came up randomly. Like, you don't follow them or whatever. It just came up, right? And you just read it, okay? And you get annoyed. Just move past it and think your own thoughts and khalas. Like, there's what's...
Well, some people will get annoyed. There's another group of people that are, you could say, gray zone. They are neutral. They don't know. But they don't have a strong opinion.
But what's a fact that one person might tweet that's wrong, that's going to do so much damage to the world or to you personally?
Around the time that Trump was running for election, there was a big thing happening with Facebook, and there was Cambridge Analytica, that whole case, where there was some evidence that the Republican Party, or I don't know who, employed some Russian cyber hackers or very skilled engineers to mass manufacture fake articles about the Democratic Party candidates or the Democratic Party that wasn't true, and help take these gray zone people in the middle that aren't blue or red, as in aren't like strongly Democratic or Republican, and push them towards the Republican side. And it was argued that this was a big factor in tipping the scale towards Trump winning the election. And there was an argument to be made after that. Some people said Facebook should be held accountable for allowing this fake news to spread and not verifying it. And Mark Zuckerberg therefore ended up being, testifying in front of Congress. And then there was another argument that said, look, anybody, like, you can't like realistically monitor every piece of information that's flowing through Facebook and every article, and AI can't either, because a lot of it requires human, at least in this day and age. Like, AI isn't good enough yet to fully do that super accurately. So you need to have moderators, but that cost of moderators and just how to do it is just very unrealistic. And it's really it's on people. People should, if they read something, it's on them to verify whether it's true or not. Whether they're educated or uneducated, that's on them. If they're giving their money to a scammer, it's also on them. They should have verified if the person is really running a legitimate business. They should do their due diligence.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean...
Those are the two kind of arguments here.
At the end of the day, it's a platform where individuals write what they want to, and that's it, basically.
Right.
If you read it and you believe it, that's on you. If you read it and you don't believe it, that's also on you.
Right.
Why? I think a lot of people get so worked up over other people's opinions and thoughts and facts or non-facts. Whereas why does it matter? Like, the problem is when people try and control other people and try to make them.
Well, that's the whole point of these articles.
Well, yeah, but
it
like
was to in a very indirect way.
Okay, but
nudge
like you
people
can
towards voting for who they
cool,
want.
and those people were nudged, and the votes got in, and whatever happened. Like, this is just how it went. I think that if it wasn't going to happen, it wouldn't have happened. For me, I don't see the point in people complaining or arguing against things like that. If you don't like something or you don't believe something that's put online, and if there is something you can do about it, sure, go for it. Do as you can.
People publishing their opinions, I think I don't necessarily agree with censoring that. But at the same time, there are people who publish things like they'll say, medical bills in Kansas have tripled since the abortion clinics opened.
Okay.
And it's not a true statement.
Yeah, but you can just go and do your research.
Right. So you believe it's on the consumer.
It's always on the consumer.
It's on the consumer.
I think everything is always the individual's responsibility. But why? Yeah, I think it's stupid. Sorry.
So you're in the Elon Musk camp of like, let's make Twitter free speech.
Of course. Like, if you don't like it, then don't consume it. Base full stop. Feeling good? How are you feeling?
I'm feeling just fine, actually. I'm really enjoying this sunset. It's one of my last sunsets.
Where are you off to?
I'm off to the US.
Nice.
Yeah, usually take off every summer, so yep. Still gets a little too hot here,
It's nice though. I like the heat.
Yeah, because you run cold.
Yeah.
All right, so let's wrap up with the sunset now with some deeper life questions. Okay. I think it was really interesting when you said cheating. Is it right or is it wrong? Is it justifiable?
Yeah.
Do you believe there's a situation in which it is justifiable?
Yes,
Tell
I
me.
do.
What's your thoughts on that?
I don't think I would say it's okay. I do believe
Let's say
that
justifiable.
Yeah, I do believe that it's not a nice thing to do at all. If you are in a relationship, a marriage, you have a partner, then why cheat? But there are situations that can happen that you cheat. For example, you might be at a workplace or anywhere and you meet someone and you're in a position where without trying, you get really close and you end up really liking or even loving them.
Do you believe the act of liking someone else is cheating? Or is it the action? Both. So like...
But it depends. Like, I do believe so. Because...
So if you're like a married woman...
Yeah.
You're married to like your, I don't know, an NBA player. Dream come true.
Yeah.
And let's say, you're promoted to be the vice president of Sony. How about this? Vice president of Sony US, because the NBA. So you'll have to be in the US. So girl boss, vice president in the US.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then you start to get close to the vice president of Canada or something. I don't know. You start taking lunch breaks together or whatever, and then you start to fall in love. So that feeling you have towards that person, you would consider that cheating?
Yes, I would consider it cheating.
Okay. Is breathing cheating?
Breathing?
Yeah.
Fuck yes. You breathe. Oh God. No. Okay. Let me just explain myself a little bit more. I think when it's unintentional and it happens, this is when I think, because first of all, I do not believe that one person is supposed to be your forever partner.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that you might just have one partner for the rest of your life and great.
By choice.
By choice, or just your soul never attaches to anyone else.
But the propensity to be attracted to other people,
this is different,
is not the same thing.
As
in, there's some people who believe that you are meant for one person only, and once you find that person, you are incapable of being attracted to others.
This is impossible. It's
impossible.
So
you're of the belief that you can still be attracted to people even if you found your soulmate.
Yeah, of course you can be. It's just human nature. So
that's what my therapist thinks too.
No, but it's human nature. So this is a normal thing. When you're in a relationship, a marriage, you love someone, you have a soulmate, and someone walks by that's attractive. they're attractive, you know, they look good. It's a really normal thing. So it's not what I mean. I just mean that as a life partner, you might marry someone and you're deeply in love with them for so many years, and then somehow, unintentionally, you might fall in love with someone else.
Right.
Not because you're looking for it or you're being shady, but halas, like it just happens.
Right.
Then it happened.
Right.
I think what's wrong is being sneaky and hiding it from your partner and then having the two. I
Right.
think that what makes it, when you asked if it was okay or not, what makes it okay is if, you know, say it was my partner, he came to me and he communicated the situation to me and
Kept it $1.50.
yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Even though it might be really hard to hear or deal with,
Right.
he is just a human who,
And it's involuntary.
who got feelings for someone else.
Yeah.
It just happened.
For the Vice President of Canada.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
can you blame the person?
Yeah, right. All right, so we discussed so much today, and the sun is setting, which means another day is ending, and we're going to go into the nighttime. And every time I watch the sunset, I think about time and how fast time is passing in our lives. And I always want to end on one note, which is, how do you make the most of your time? This is the open-ended question. You decide how to answer it. Whether you believe the point of life is to be happy or the point of life is to be in love. How does one person make the most of the time that they have left, however long that is?
To realize that every day is life, not just moments, not the weekend, not something that you're looking forward to, that you're striving for. Every day is a day in your life, and there are so many factors in life that are really beautiful. So if you dismiss them, time just seems like it's flying. And I think that no matter what, there's always something that you can feel good about in the moment. And why not create a life for yourself where you feel good every day instead of just a couple of days in the week, or when you got something, or when you're looking forward to something. If you're always looking, you know, in the future, then you're not present within now. So time is always over there. You're always just looking over there. Whereas no, like life is every day. And yes, there are things that you want and goals, and go for it, but it doesn't dismiss what is right now. And regardless of if you want to acknowledge it or not, it is right now. Everything that is around you is here right now. You are here right now. The things that are happening right now. Whether you're happy with them or not, it's still very much happening now. So the little things in your everyday, or the big things in your everyday, are things that you should take note of as well and appreciate and love. And if there's something that isn't making you feel good in your everyday, then also work on that to see how you can do things differently. It's not always about the big things and the big goals and getting this and getting that. It's just about right now. It's not be positive and dismiss something that is factual, but it is finding ways within yourself, in however that may be, to enjoy the process. So if that means that you have to change a few things, then change them. So nasty, would I lose you if someone came up with